Thank you. You should wait to hear what I have to say before you clap. But yeah, welcome. Thanks for joining me. This is our monthly LEAP session, so building a high trust team. A little bit about LEAP before I get started. Just for those of you who don't know, we run a monthly leadership training session on Zoom every month through the APRO hosted website. It's a LEAP, TRIB and APRO combined event. We run that every month, and the idea of it is a half hour to 40 minutes of leadership training for anyone at any level, whether it's a store manager, an aspiring manager, regional manager. And for those of you who haven't been joining, or if you have teams that haven't been joining, we really would encourage it. I mean, I've been doing a lot of them, but Mike Tissett is a much more talented speaker than me, has been doing a ton of them, and they're just really great sessions. I think those people who have been on would agree. How many here have listened in on at least one or two of those? Okay, a lot of you. So we would encourage you to keep doing that, but also invite your teams and your managers, even if they're not on the live version, which I know sometimes can be challenging. They are hosted, recorded on the APRO website, and everyone can gain access to that. It's a little convoluted to log in sometimes, but everyone can get an access, so then they can just watch them on their own time, when they have a downtime, I should say. And the thing we would say is if you take away one key thing each month, that helps your growth, right? If you've ever heard of the 1% improvement rule, if you try to improve 1% every week, no matter what it is, if it's health, if it's exercise, anything like that, I would apply it to leadership here. If you improve 1% every week, just trying to improve 1% every week, after 3 years, or in 2 years, I should say, you'll be 3 times the leader you are today in terms of your skill set, in terms of your ability. And after 5 years, you'll be 13 times the leader you are today. So just 1% improvement every week, and that multiplies over time. LEAP, obviously, is just a small component of that. Feel free to reach out to me, or probably any of the leaders in this room can share podcasts, books, audio books. Gary mentioned some in his video, some of my favorites in his video this morning when he won his award. But there's lots of great resources out there. Today's LEAP session, as with all LEAP sessions, like I said, is for leaders at any level. So I'd like to ask you a question. How can you foster a culture of trust through vulnerability, accountability, and consistent communication? And that's what we're going to discuss today. So that's really what today's all about. It's based on the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Specifically, I'm really spending the whole session today on number 1, the absence of trust. And if you can see on this pyramid, the absence of trust is kind of the foundation. So if you can build trust on your team, that can help eliminate the fear of conflict. If you can eliminate the fear of conflict, then you get rid of the lack of accountability. If you get rid of the lack of accountability, then or lack of commitment, I'm sorry, then you can not avoid accountability. And then the most important one is the tip of the iceberg there, the tip of the pyramid, inattention to results, which means trust is the basis to achieving financial results. So if I want to have a successful financial result, really the basis is a long-term trust. And the why that I always talk about this type of thing, this culture, is because people will work for a paycheck. I think we all know when you hire someone, they're there for the paycheck. But if you want people that go above and beyond, they're going to do it more for a leader they trust, more for a leader they care about, than they're going to do it for just the person signing their paycheck. So that's why I talk about this a lot, because it's been my experience. We're going to be using the term high trust. I've joined the acronym crowd, so just easy to remember. And each letter is going to represent key leadership behavior that will help build trust on your team. What can a high trust environment do for you? Who liked the speaker this morning, by the way? Anyone? All right, so I'd like you to look at the person next to you and say, I'd like to be able to trust you. Thank you. Thank you. So what can a high trust environment do for you? A high trust environment can help reduce fear of mistakes, right? So look at the person next to you and say, I'd like to reduce that fear of mistakes. Come on, do it. I'm not going to do that for the whole talk, but I thought he was amazing. I love that. So anyway, it also helps you reduce the fear of sharing new ideas and the fear of speaking up. So if we're on a team we can trust, we're willing to do all these things without a fear of being made fun of, I guess, or mocked. I don't know. Increases the connection, encouraging teamwork versus the individual. And when your people speak honestly, try harder, and stay engaged, they're going to go above and beyond, like I talked about before. And that will lead to better financial results. So I have a challenge for the room, something to be thinking about while I'm talking today. Think about, as we go through these letters, which letter in high trust do you need to lean into? What behavior will you model next week? What's going to be your plus 1% next week? And finally, what conversations have you been avoiding that need to happen? So the H, the first letter in high trust, stands for help them. So I'd like to think about helping them not as going into their store and doing their job for them, but removing obstacles. So when you find out that they're struggling with something, what can you do to help them learn to do it better? What can you do to take obstacles out of their way? Share your struggles. When you talk to someone about a problem they're having, sometimes it helps them if they know that you struggled with that when you were new or years ago or however that may work out. And most importantly, like I said at the beginning, don't enable them. Don't go in and do their job for them every week and think that that's helping them. So just some examples. A delivery driver might just need a new pair of gloves or raincoats just to help them do their job a little better, feel better about it. We used to, back in the day, have our collection calls right at our front counter. So moving those to the back so the collection folks can have more privacy. Teaching a new person how to install a window cling. Who here has ever installed a window cling and got it perfect the first time? Did you have a wrinkle or two, right? So helping them, sharing with them that you struggled. Simple things like that help build trust. And it builds trust by showing team members that asking for help isn't a weakness, that leaders are here to serve and support them. They're not just here to tell them what to do. They're invested in their success. Again, I mentioned this 3 times now, so I won't do it again, but don't do the work for them. That diminishes personal accountability. Now, I'm not going to read these. So each letter, I have 10 tips. Anyone who wants to, I think you can download this PowerPoint from the app, and if not, feel free to reach out to me. So I have 10 tips for each letter. I don't want to go through all those for each letter, but just 10 additional tips for each one in case you want to learn more about that. The I in high trust stands for individual attention. And here we're talking about the idea of treating your team members as humans rather than cogs in a machine, right? They're not just plug and play parts of the machine that you can, if one person leaves, you just fill it in for the next person. Get to know them. Learn a little bit about them personally. Sit down with them weekly and have one-on-ones. I get a lot of pushback with this when I say about the one-on-ones where someone says, well, I work with them every day. I see them every day. Why do I need to have a one-on-one? And my answer to that is that a one-on-one is different than just passing in the job. You're sitting down, you're talking to them about something personal. It might be their kids, it might be their spouse. Maybe it's a health issue that they've been dealing with, and just chatting with them about, hey, what's going on with that? And this could be a 10-minute conversation where you start with that, and then you talk about what's something that you've struggled with this week at work that I can help you with, something that I can maybe help move the needle on. And then the third part of it is maybe something that I see that I would really like them to change. So just some examples of this, so how are Ava's ballet classes going? When's the recital again? So maybe you're talking about that. And then part of the same conversation could be, what's the strategy to get those 2 30-day accounts back this week? Is there anything I can do to help? And then finally, I'd love to see you cleaning your workstation before you leave for the day. It sets a better example for the newer employees. So again, just simple conversations like this help set that tone and move the needle. And trust grows when people feel seen and heard personally, so you're not treating them like a cog in a machine, and clarifying that each of them matters as an individual. So again, every letter is going to have 10 other tips associated with it. The G in high trust stands for group ownership. So sharing goals openly, and the way I would look at this is a situation where you're in a team huddle and you're talking about the sales goal with the team. You're talking about the collections goal with the team, where we stand. You're talking about maybe how many Google reviews the delivery guys have, and you're making it more of a team effort because then it encourages them to help each other reach those goals. When I say postmortems, there's probably a better way to say that, but whenever you have a company event or anything that happened, having the entire group involved in the discussion about what did we do great and we want to make sure we remember for the next time. What did we kind of not do so great that we should do better the next time? And that helps every event become better and better and better. But most importantly, it lets the team know that they're part of this solution. They're part of the improvement process. Notice when I said that, I was using the word we instead of I think we did this, or I did this wrong, or I did that wrong. If we think of ourselves as a team and we put on this event as a team, again, it makes everyone feel included and a part of things. And finally, peer coaching, where I don't know about you, but I'm not the best salesperson in the world, right? So if I have a team and I have, like, say, 2 salespeople, one of them's fantastic and one of them's new, just, again, publicly, hey, you would be better at teaching this person the sales process than I would be. Why don't you do that? That type of thing. And just giving them that responsibility, but also that recognition that you feel like they're more capable than you are. So again, just some examples here. Trisha, my wife, Trisha's only 3, she loves when I talk about her. Trisha's only 3 agreements away from reaching her 20 for the week. John's already under our collection close goal for the week. Let's make sure we keep that going. Oh, and Kevin and Luis have 8 new Google reviews this week. 2 more for that free lunch. So again, just kind of a simple team huddle where we're shouting out everyone, including them all in the conversation. And then again, continuing with that, hey Trisha, can you work with Jen today and show her your process for closing on the phone? You've been crushing it, and you can definitely teach her better than I can. So again, recognizing that Trisha's better than I am at that. And that helps build trust by demonstrating that everyone's voice matters and the leadership team doesn't have all the answers. It shows respect for their ideas. 10 more tips. Lots of reading material for when you get home. So H in high trust stands for humility first. Admitting mistakes, it's self-explanatory really. Ask for advice, admitting when you're wrong, and then keeping an open mind. So just when someone has an idea that's different than yours, a lot of leaders, especially newer leaders, I think in a new position, tend to think that because I'm the leader, I have to have all the answers. And I think really what makes a strong leader is someone who recognizes that you definitely don't have all the answers, and sometimes this answer is going to be better, or maybe an improvement on your answer, and just acknowledging that and being open to that is so important and helpful in building that trust dynamic. So again, some examples. Sorry, Julie, I forgot to place that order yesterday for your customer. I'll get right on it after the morning meeting today. So, I'm the leader and I made a mistake, but I'm going to fix it and I'm going to try and, hurry that along. Tony, that idea you showed me on how to improve the sales process was right on point. Much better than what I was thinking. Thanks for sharing. So again, acknowledging that my idea is not always the best. And it builds trust by modeling honesty and accountability and giving permission to others to be human, for others to be human. All right, the T in trust stands for transparency. So this is all about sharing the information you have. So when a problem arises or even something good arises, just making sure that you're being completely transparent with everything you can. Share the why. If you don't know all the facts, make sure you share what you do know and share the fact that, hey, this part of it we just don't know the answer to yet, and we'll share it as soon as we have it. I think that what happens if you don't, and we've probably all experienced this, but we call it the magic rumor mill, but I'm sure every company has their own rumor mill, where you people hear tidbits about something, and if you haven't shared what actually happened, they're going to fill in the blanks. And when you hear the story back around on the other side, it's like whisper down the lane. It's going to have morphed into something completely different. So just being as transparent as you can, I think, helps to avoid that. So just some examples. Our healthcare providers raising our rates significantly this year. We're going to have to raise our rates, but we just don't have all the answers yet. We're looking for alternatives, so we don't have those amounts figured out yet. So people will hear, hey, our rates got jumped up for, somehow they'll hear it, even though we don't share it. So we might as well share it ahead of the rumor mill. We recently increased our starting pay for delivery specialists since we've had such difficulty hiring for that position. We're competing against a lot of local warehouses and factories. Anyone who's not in that position and wants to explore it is definitely welcome to apply. So again, letting them know why we raised rates for one position and not another position. Just, again, open and honest, telling them the why, and letting them know we certainly would like them to do it too. Dan?
In that situation there, the current delivery specialist you have, are you going to jump them to the new rate?
That's good. That's good. So that's part of our communication, should be exactly what we're going to do there. Now, we in this particular case, it's something we actually did, and yes, we did. But yeah, that's good. So whether you are or you aren't, just sharing the details of exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it, for the existing delivery drivers, for the new people you're hiring in. I think if you have a valid why that you've thought through, then I would share it with them. So again, this transparency builds trust by removing confusion, reducing rumors and gossip, and helping them feel informed and respected. And of course, 10 more tips. The R in high trust stands for recognition. And by that, I mean real recognition, not robotic recognition. There was in the women's forum, she used the term TSP, like a teaspoon, and it was Kelly that did that. I'm sorry, I thought it was the speaker. And remind me now, I say it, but I don't. Yeah, truthful, specific, and positive. So, and I say that in here in different words, but I like that kind of that TSP. Of course, I should be able to remember what the TSP stands for. Yeah. No. So again, the most important thing, in my opinion, with recognition is do it often and be completely specific with it, right? So good job, guys, is just not that rewarding to anyone. So be very specific. Celebrate the small wins as much as the big wins. Don't wait for some huge, we reached this goal to celebrate. Celebrate along the way. Celebrate as often as you can, as long as it's a legitimate and specific. And share the positives with all. There are people that prefer personal recognition in private. We have a woman who works for us who just hates public recognition, and we used to think it was just a show. Finally, I kind of had a private talk with her. She said, no, I really don't like to be publicly recognized. So we always recognize her, or we try to recognize her more privately, but her accomplishments, without maybe shouting out her name, we would still want to recognize, because the team helped accomplish whatever goal that was. And then using these, part of the reason you want to recognize the positives is you want to make them into teaching moments. You want everyone to understand that we're shouting out this positive because we want everyone to do it and everyone to replicate it. So again, just some examples. Angie, I was so impressed with the way you took time to sit down with Mrs. Silvers yesterday to explain her account and why she was being charged late charges. She came in fuming and left with a smile on her face. Her son Kevin called me and said he was so happy. Get that? Kevin Silvers? I wanted to shout out Herman to the team. You'll notice that yesterday he put together 3 fantastic furniture groupings on the floor, and today they all have rented tags on them. So again, just simple recognition for simple things. And this builds trust by making people feel noticed. Sincere appreciation makes people feel valued and motivated to continue performing. And again, I mentioned earlier, it also shows others what you're looking for and what will get them that recognition. So the U stands for understanding first and then feedback. So giving people the benefit of the doubt, making sure you're hearing all sides of the story before you kind of pass judgment, and then making sure you're providing the opportunity for growth, not punishment. So when I say benefit of the doubt, I mean I'm notorious for this. Mike's sitting in the room. He can tell you more about that. But I would hear something bad that happened, and immediately I'm running down this rabbit hole of what we need to do. And he's like, whoa, stop the clock. I got to tell you the other side of the story. So then I would hear the other side of the story, and he would have a solution in mind. And I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And And so wait till you hear all sides of the story before passing judgment or before making decisions. But the part about the punishment, in my opinion, if you're feeling like you need to punish someone on your team, it's probably that they shouldn't be working for you anymore, right? So if I'm punishing someone, they're probably not on my team anymore. I'd rather always be looking for opportunities to help them grow. And so anytime that something bad happens, let's figure out a way to learn from it, teach them, and if they're not growing from it, then it's probably time for them to move on. So never think about punishing people when you're in this situation. So again, a couple examples. Joe, I heard about what happened on that delivery yesterday. I wanted to hear it from your perspective too. Okay, and then when I hear Joe's perspective, maybe Joe admits, I really didn't do this very well, and it went wrong. So, hey, thanks for sharing that, Joe. I'm sure you can understand why the customer's upset that her wall was damaged. Remember, our primary goal is to make sure this doesn't happen again. Can you tell me what you would do differently if you had it to do over again? And then hopefully Joe, says, well, I forgot to use the lift straps, or we weren't using the tools, or something like that. And if not, obviously, then you would coach him on the things that you saw. But hopefully he understands that and learns from that without you having to tell him. And again, builds trust by showing respect for the team's perspective before offering judgment or solution. You've probably heard me say the word respect a few times. I'm going to say it a lot more times. And I think that part of this this idea of building trust just has to do with respect, right? We respect one another. I'm not the boss almighty and everyone has to bow before me. It's respect for your team. So here's 10 more tips for you. And S is support without enabling. So setting clear expectations, making sure you're providing support for those expectations. Something I heard, I think it was yesterday also, was the idea that sometimes we say, rent more stuff or collect better or get a lower percentage, but have we really offered them the tools for that? Have we offered them the training? Are we teaching them how to do that? Or are we just expecting them to know that somehow? And I think that's something that really falls under this one. Can't versus won't. Again, I heard yesterday, Kelly stole all my material. I don't know how she got my PowerPoint, but so can't versus won't is so huge. When you're teaching people, is it because they don't have the training and you're training them and then maybe they're slow learners, right? I have a firm belief that in this industry we can teach people to do almost anything if they want to do it. But if they're struggling, we have to figure out, is it because they haven't been taught or they haven't picked up the training, or is it because they're just not doing it? They're choosing not to do it. And if you get someone in that won't category, there's not a lot you can do. If you've worked with them, it's time to move them off the team. But the can't, those are the people I would keep working with until you're determining that it's more of a won't. And then the word consistent I have there, just because I think consistent with each member on the team, but also consistent with that team member. If you give someone feedback, today, and then you don't really talk to them about it for 3 more weeks or a month, that feedback didn't work. Kelly made the point yesterday, I'm stealing from you now. Kelly made the point yesterday that you give them feedback and then call them or text them daily for, that was you, right? Sorry, it was you, Rachel, wasn't it? It was Rachel. So, but call them or text them daily and check in on them and make sure they got the message. So I learned so much from the women's forum. It was really great. So again, some examples. Mike, I want to be sure you understand our expectations for you regarding one-on-one conversations weekly. This is the second time we've had a discussion about this recently, and I want to be sure you understand that it's an expectation, not a suggestion. How can I help? All right, so I'm offering help, but also making it clear that this is expected. And again, this support builds trust by creating fairness, consistency, and respect, again the word respect, for standards that protect everyone's contributions. Teams trust leaders who are kind but firm. Second chances are good, but freeloaders should not be tolerated. And that's something, again, keep in mind that if you're allowing these people who are choosing not to do things, they're choosing not to carry their weight, the other members on the team are seeing that, and they're going to start leaving because they don't want to work for a leader that lets a freeloader kind of take advantage of them. So important to remember that part is just by being nice, quote unquote, to this person, you're really harming the rest of your team who has to carry the weight. And then finally, high trust championship Baltimore Ravens, looking to beat the Cincinnati Bengals twice this year. Team over ego. Celebrate others, recognize strengths of others, and model selflessness. So again, it's pretty self-explanatory on this one. Just some quick examples. I want to thank our team for making our store a $1.5 million store this year. We came together as a team to make this happen. So while the manager often is celebrated for leading such a store, this person recognizes that it takes a team to make it happen. So just shouting that out. And then similarly, I just saw a 5-star review on Google. They mentioned me by name, but really Juan and Edwin deserve the credit. They both stayed late last night to get that refrigerator out to that customer. Thanks, guys. So again, simple recognition, recognizing that even though I'm the person that they named in the review, I want to pass that credit along to the team that made it happen. Again, shifting the spotlight away from yourself and proving that collaboration, not competition, is the team's culture. So if you feel like you have a good team, in other words, a team that is pretty trusting, you don't have some toxic individuals on there, there's a couple exercises that we've done for a number of years at Majik that really takes that good team and I think takes it to the next level in terms of what we're talking about with the trust. And so the first one is just a pretty simple exercise. You have to have those basics though to have it be effective, because if I'm going to get rid of that. If you don't have the basics, then people aren't going to be real with it. They're kind of just going to be surfacey, and it's not going to mean anything. So if you feel like you have toxic team members, I wouldn't even go here. But if you feel like you have an overall pretty good team, then this is a simple one, right? So you just take a half hour, 45 minutes. Each person writes down their hometown, their first job, their worst job, and why, the number of siblings they have, and then this is the one that really catches people a little bit, the biggest challenge they've had to date, the younger years, maybe more recently. And then what you do is you go around the room and just share it. Usually the leader goes first, and then the team members. And if the leader demonstrates maybe a little bit of, I think probably, can we have a show of hands, who here had at least one pretty tough challenge between your birth and now? Anyone else besides me? Okay. So so if you as the leader demonstrate that you're willing to be a little bit, I don't know the right word I'm thinking of, but raw here, I guess. What is it? Vulnerable. Yeah, thank you. Vulnerable, then the others will follow in most cases. And so, again, hometown, pretty easy. There's not a lot of tears that go on with the hometown one. But once you get down to maybe worst job and why you left, that can bring out some emotion. And especially if they love this job and they had a crappy job before this, that can really bring out some emotion. And then finally, the last one, the biggest challenge in your younger years, usually people are going to come out with some stuff that's shocking that they're willing to share on a team. If you have a good team, you're going to probably see some tears, and your team dynamic is going to be better than it was before. The second one is even tougher. We had a meeting the other day, just about a week ago, and one of the guys on our team said, we haven't done this in like a year, but that trust exercise we did was really good. And this is the quietest guy on our team. But he said it's really, really hard, but it's really, really good. And so that's actually what prompted me to put these two slides in here. This one is really hard. And basically, same deal. You need probably 2 hours for this. If you have a 6 or 7 person team, each person on the team writes down on a note card one trait about each of the other team members that they admire about their team dynamic, what they do to help the team, so to speak. Then the harder part is what's one thing that each person on the team should change that will help the team be better. And then what happens is, again, the leader on this one should always go first. And everyone goes around and says something nice about you, and you're like, wow, that's great. Thank you so much, and it feels really good. And then And again, in this situation, I would start with myself, and I would say what I think too, right? And then the second part is what's one thing I could change to be better. And again, I'm going to start, and I'm hopefully going to say something really honest. You know, if I said something like, you know, I could wear brighter clothing or something, then that sets the tone, and the thing's not going to work. But if I say something pretty vulnerable, pretty raw about myself, that sets the tone that you all are allowed to say something about me too, right? And then the team goes around and says something that you could do better as a leader to make the team dynamic better. And then of course each person takes their turn. And when you, I'm supposed to just jump ahead here. And then the hard part, if you're like me, I'm super defensive by nature. The hard part is not responding, right? The only thing I'm allowed to say is, thank you for that feedback, or, hey, I'm not quite sure I understand. Can you explain a little more clearly or give me an example? And you're not allowed to add, like, I was going to say anything. So that's all you're allowed to say. And then you thank them for the feedback. Go around the room. And then at the very end, each person makes a commitment based on the feedback and says, I'm going to spend the next year trying to get better at this. In my case, I was known as, my nickname became after the first time we did this, Dan the Slam Man. I think it was Pat Hartman maybe that named me that. Because I would tend to shut down conversations. I was very opinionated. I still am, but I try to keep it to myself more. But and conversation would sometimes shut down because I had a strong opinion. And so they called that slamming. But we had a great conversation about it, and then over the next year I worked on improving that. So every quarterly offsite meeting, we would report on how we're doing, and we would kind of grade each other and see how we're doing. So that's a very, very challenging exercise, but I'll tell you, it will take your team dynamic up 3 levels. There's a bunch of Majik guys here. Would you agree with that, guys who have been involved in that? All right. Hard and uncomfortable, right? Yeah. Yeah, we all came up with rap names. Forgot about that. So we follow up quarterly. So as I said at the beginning, I didn't say this at the beginning, but one thing you haven't heard me talk about today is pizza parties, golf outings, or company retreats. We did all that, but that's not what builds trust on your team. It's built by these daily habits that I was talking about. And also, if you look at the 10 tips I had on each letter, that's how you build daily trust. And then over time, you know, you can get into those exercises I mentioned at the end, and that really takes it to the next level. And again, I asked you at the beginning, which letter on high trust do you need to lean into? I would encourage you, if you didn't leave with any notes today, leave with something. What am I gonna lean into? What behavior am I gonna model in the next week to improve 1%? What conversation have I been avoiding that needs to happen? And again, just a final reminder, people will work for a paycheck, but they'll go above and beyond for a leader they trust. All right, thanks everybody. Good to see you all.